Killer Klowns has been my favorite movie for a million billion years since it first came out. And I worked at the home video company that released it on video, so I was close to it there. And when we were going out of business, I actually found one of the masks from the movie that the Kyoto brothers made, and I took it home. And then I would make people, back when there were big tube TVs, I would make people watch the movie, and I'd set the clown mask on the TV so it would watch them while they watched the movie. And so years later, at one point, I actually got approached by the Kyoto brothers because I was wearing their mask at a Halloween party, and these guys came out and, "Where's it? Where did you get that mask? That's our mask." And I even was talking with them for a couple months about writing a sequel to Killer Klowns. This is like 1980. This is from 1990, 91 maybe. And so years later, nothing happened with that. Years later, I was like, you know what? I want to make a game out of that. So starting around the year 2000, and this is after my first books had been published. Actually, after all my books, most of my books have been published. I contacted MGM, like I did with New Line for Nightmare, and just said, I want to make this game. And the guy who was heading up game licensing for MGM, same thing happened to do. He's one of my old best friends now.
Of course.
But he was like, he paused, he goes, "That's insane. You should come in and meet with me." And so what happened over the next 20 years off and on, I would get the rights, I would get the blessing, more like the blessing of MGM through different people who headed up that group to pitch a game based on Killer Klowns. And if I could put together the deal, they would let me make the game. Turns out I'm a terrible businessman. And so over 20 years or so, I came really close with THQ once. And that was it. I also got MGM to agree to do the most recent thing about 8 years ago. I got MGM to agree to let me do an app based on Killer Klowns. And then they wanted me to change it to an Angry Birds clone. And I'm like, nope. And I walked away. So more recently, I was working with this is just before the pandemic. I had been introduced to Randy Greenback, who's one of the co-directors of the game and who was the director of the Friday the 13th game. And he was interested in Killer Klowns. So I was working with him for a while. And then we ended up not getting anything together. But then he then ended up putting together the deal that I could never put together. And with a team headed up by close friends of mine from Colombia and the TerraVision guys. And they thankfully asked me to come on board and write the game.
Excellent. And that game is going to be out at some point in 2023. Not quite sure when. I thought it was January. I could probably wrong, but we'll keep an eye on it anyway. But safe to say, you're very excited about this one, though.
This is the most. I mean, this is like when James Cameron got Avatar made, and the script that he'd been sitting on for 25 years.